Hey, I'm Jess Willie. I'm a TV and media critic who occasionally branches out to other stuff. I've got some pretty cool friends. A little strange, maybe, but cool. There's Nick, an AI copy of a buddy of mine from college that I installed on my smart TV. He's supposed to keep the show on track, but he spends more time watching Brazilian cooking shows. There's King Ralph Detritus, an old toy from my childhood who is somehow alive, and he rules a massive underground kingdom from a stronghold in my basement. There's Zylogaphia P. Robinson. She's a magical winter elf who started out as an observer from the International Internet Reviewers Guild, but she sorta went native. I've got occasional guests, too. Like Gizmo. He's a dog. He doesn't show up much, but when he does, he has lots to say. So if you want to know the story, go and watch the back catalog. If you're just interested in a review of the thing you clicked on, sit back, relax, and don't ask questions. Or if you have questions, leave them in the comments. Maybe I'll answer. The only question you can be sure I'm gonna answer is, did I get what I paid for? We're back in the basement. Sorta. We're not quite set up yet, but we gotta get things done.
Do we really?
Yeah, we have one more episode of Star Trek left for this batch of reviews.
I thought you'd be celebrating.
Normally I would, but I realized it could be a long time before I actually get to talk about Star Trek again.
Instead of sinking a reference in anyway whenever you feel like it.
Exactly. Have you ever noticed how I don't swear half as much and I don't get enraged when I watch a Star Trek episode?
Yeah, I always wondered about that.
Star Trek is my happy place. I thought that was the deep fried Oreo stand at the county fair. I can have more than one happy place, Ralph.
I know what'll cheer you up.
What?
The only thing that ever does.
Deep fried Oreos?
Oh, shut up, Ralph. I'm trying to be serious here. The only thing more annoying than a hyperactive Jess with verbal diarrhea is a morose Jess with existential ennui. To fight that off, there is only one thing we can do. We have to, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, let him watch some Star Trek.
Don't worry, you did your bad episode and your meh episode. You're going to a good one.
Yes, the military has a certain reputation.
So go on, big guy. Give us the old our story begins.
Our story begins with Archer gathering almost the entire crew for a funeral. Not exactly the image I needed to shake me out of this funk, but okay. He goes on and on about how great an officer this guy was, and slowly but surely they reveal that it's it's Trip.
There's no fucking way they'd kill off a main character in the middle of an episode.
Tell that to Tasha Yar.
Or Nancy and Dex. We flash back to 2 weeks ago. T'Pol is giving Trip his weekly massage therapy session. He starts using his knowledge of a new advance in warp field theory to woo her. I'd laugh, but it appears to be working. The next day, they go ahead with their test. Everything is going fine. Until the engine goes off like a water heater if you hired the Mythbusters to be your house sitters. And it takes Trip along with it. But his fast action made sure he was the only one seriously injured. T'Pol gives engineering one look and says, if Trip gets started right away, we'll be up and running again in a week. Without him? Who knows? Archer says, too bad Flox just told me that Trip is in a coma due to brain damage. He's probably gonna die. Archer goes to sickbay. Flock says, "Look, I've never brought this up before, but I have these bugs. If you inject the DNA of anything else into their egg sacs, they clone it. But the clone ages rapidly and dies in 2 weeks. I think I can alter the DNA just enough so that when the clone reaches the same biological age as Trip, we can harvest its tissue. The clone will be fine. For about a week and a half, we'll have 2 Trips." Archer asks, "Isn't that morally problematic?" Flock says, "Maybe. But do you want to save Trip and stop the Zindi or not?" T'Pol says, "Hey, I think I figured out what went wrong with the experiment. We accidentally magnetized the hull. All sorts of things are attracted to the ship." "Hey, you aren't actually thinking about going ahead with Flock's crazy idea, are you?" Archer says, "Yeah." T'Pol says, "Creating a life just so it can die and you can harvest its body parts is wrong." Archer says, "Trip is the only person on this ship capable of repairing those engines fast enough that the entire crew doesn't die." Paul counters with, "The clone will be its own person. You can't use him like that." Archer says, "If I don't, the Zindi could destroy all life on Earth. What other choice do I have?" So a few days later, baby Trip, or would that be Quad, is born. Only they decide to name him Sim, and that he'll be raised by the mad scientist who created him. Because that worked so well for Victor Frankenstein, maybe it won't be so bad. The next day, he's 7 years old. Hoshi is teaching him how to read. Only he remembers the story from when he read it. With Trip's mom? Flox is shocked because he knows that is not how cloning works. He realizes he's made a big oopsie. So he tells Archer that Sim is remembering more and more of Trip's memories all the time. Oh, and he's now a teenager. That's a point in your life where most people are already asking themselves all sorts of existential questions. It's hard enough to figure out who you are as a person when you aren't a clone with someone else's replicated memories. What'll happen if he finds out? Maybe they should break it to him slowly. So Archer and Sim take Porthos for a walk. On the way back to Archer's quarters, Sim wants to know all about Zephram Cochrane, warp field theory, and the ship Archer's dad built. Archer decides to put off being a responsible person and takes out his model spaceship. They take it out for a flight, but it crashes, which pisses off Porthos. Eventually, he realizes he can't put it off forever. He takes Sim to meet Trip. Unconscious and for all intents and purposes near brain death. Sim realizes the answers to all of his questions. Why do people call him Sim when he knows his name is Trip? How did he end up on this ship? Why are there no other kids on board? Archer explains the birds and the bees to Sim. Or in this case, the bird, the bee, and the mad scientist with the test tube of it all. He even says, when you're old enough, Phlox is going to perform a minor surgery on you, and Trip, the other Trip, will be fine. Sim joins the Paul's repair team. He's almost as good at everything as Trip. And not just engineering. Everything includes hitting on to Paul. He asks her to movie night. She turns him down, and it's not because she's in her 60s, but the human equivalent of her late 20s, and he's 4 days old, but the human equivalent of 17. For all she knows, he'll be 22 by dinner time. But she denies it has anything to do with Trip either.
Liar, liar, Pants being chemically converted into ignited plasma.
Another thing Sim and Trip have in common? These sort of moments keep getting interrupted by Archer. He calls Paul up to his ready room. He says, "We've got a problem." Reed says that the whole magnetized hull thing is a bigger problem than we thought. We need to be out of the nebula in 4 days. DePaul says, "That's not possible. If we had Trip, maybe, but we don't." Reed goes down to the mess hall. He sees Sim eating a key lime pie, which he just remembered was his favorite food. Reed says, "That is weird." Sim says, "Wait, that sort of thing doesn't happen to you?" Sim coughs. The real reason I invited you down here is I wanted to know, is it possible to shoot ourselves with our phasers? Reed says, yeah, but why would we want to? Sim says, we could use them to burn the Magna Whatsis off the hangar bay. Then we could overburn the shuttle's engines to haul us out of here. Reed says, that could work, but Trip would never have thought of that. A few hours later, Sim goes to see DePaul. He asks her if she's had time to review his plan. She says, yes, I've already forwarded it to the captain. He says, cool. Look, one more thing. Every time I come in here, I get erotic thoughts. The worst part is I don't know if they're mine or Trip's. But if you two weren't a thing, do you, I don't know, want to make sure I don't die a virgin? Just throwing it out there. And she shoots him down again. Sim goes to see Archer to see if he can fly one of the shuttles. Archer tells him no. Sim says, but I have all of Trip's memories and skills. He was a great pilot. Archer says, true, but I need your brain to save Trip, and I need Trip in order to help save Earth from the Zindi. So I'm sending Reed and Travis. At first, Sim's plan doesn't seem to be working. They thought they'd only have to overload their engines a little bit to get things moving, but instead they have to push them to almost blowing themselves up speed. But eventually it does its thing, so they call the shuttle pods home. Slack calls Archer down to sickbay. He says he shouldn't have resolved the B plot 32 minutes into the episode. Now the A plot will have to have a hiccup. Remember how I said I could remove part of Sim's brain without killing him? Well, something, that unexpected memory thing, so I can't. In order for Trip to live, Sim must undergo a painful death. So they sit Sim down. He says, okay, then I guess I'll have to die then. Wait, aren't there medications you can use to prolong my life? Flock says, only if you believe quack doctors and conspiracy Reddit boards. Sim says, then why should I have to die so Trip can live? The next day, Archer finds Sim in Trip's quarters. He says, you have no right to be in here. Sim says, I have more rights than you do. At least I remember living here. Archer says, that doesn't mean squat. This is my ship. I am responsible for everyone on it. Sim asks, does that include me? Archer says, you'll be dead in 3 days anyway. If you die today, the person whose quarters you're trespassing in will live. Sim says, but if I get those drugs, Archer says, Flock doesn't think those will work. Even if they do, you'd live maybe an extra week. But in the time it would take to synthesize them, you'd be too old for your tissue to do Trip any good. Sim asks, so what do you plan to do? Drag me to sick bay in the middle of the night like you're taking me to a Christian camp for wayward teens? Archer says if you really do have all of Trip's memories, you know the answer. Sim goes to engineering to take half a duty shift.
As a way to say goodbye to Paul? How romantic.
No, he's overriding security systems on one of the shuttle pods.
Archer finds him in the shuttle bay a few minutes later. He says he couldn't go through with it, mostly because there's no toilet on a shuttle pod. That's not really a problem for a healthy man in his 30s, but by the time he got anywhere, he'd be in his 90s. It'd be kind of necessary. Sim resigns himself to the inevitable. He doesn't want to die, but he does want justice for Elizabeth. Regardless of the truth about his origins, he still considers her his sister. Then he spends a few minutes petting Porthos. T'Pol comes in. She tells him his death will have a huge impact on the crew. She gives him his first and last kiss before he goes to his death. Thanks to gaslighting, Sim apologizes to Archer and Phlox for being a dick. Then the episode loops back to the beginning. And that's it. That's the episode.
Yes!
Okay, first things first. The good things about this episode. At the forefront is Connor Tremier's performance in the back half of the episode. He made Sim more than just Trip, give or take a few memories here and there, which is how most actors would have done it. He made sure Sim was both Trip and not Trip, if that makes sense. The second good thing is the episode finds something to do for the entire cast, not just the main four. You know, Archer, Sim, T'Pol, and Phlox. No, this episode finds room for Reed, Hoshi, and Travis. In terms of quality, there is more good Hoshi material in this episode than there was in Exile. And that was her starring vehicle for the season. Now on to the bad thing about the episode. This is one of Star Trek's many preachy, issue-driven stories. This time on the use of stem cells. But to be really weird for Star Trek, this one has a right-wing bias. The problem is in the real world, no human beings are being created out there living their lives, doing their own thing, and then killed to save someone. I think people on both sides of the aisle could agree that that would be wrong. What's actually happening is doctors are using lumps of cells either from people who are already out there or from embryos that are never going to be implanted. They are not now, nor will they ever be people. Chances are 7 years after the person's had their child or children, they're just going to be destroyed anyway. Isn't it better to use that material to help someone? That is a much more difficult question to answer. I have my opinion on the matter. I think, judging from the fact that I have done a video recommending people donate to the Christopher and Dana Reed Foundation, you can probably guess what that opinion is. However, I understand that some people might disagree with me on that. All that being said, most people consider The Cogenitor to be Enterprise's best episode. I disagree. I count Similitude as one of 3 episodes that are better. 4 depending on how you count multi-parters. We might do one of them if and when we get to season 4. There's one more thing you've got to do. It's reckoning time.
Come on, this is just for talking about. We know how he's going to rank the 4 callbacks. Christmas Flintstone is the worst, 8 Man at number 3, Scooby Doo at number 2, and Enterprise at number 1.
Actually, no. You're right. Christmas Flintstone was god awful. The absolute worst. The Ape Man was bad. It does indeed get third place. But Enterprise comes in second. Scooby Doo was number 1. What?
Parody error does not compute. Parody error. I just got it.
What?
Nothing.
Be back here next time for a special event. You won't want to miss it. French fries time? French fries time? French fries time! Sorry, Gizmo, not enough people gave to the Patreon. You're gonna have to go without a snack until next time. I'm hungry. But if you guys want to see Gizmo eat French fries in a future video, or get early access to our virtual Christmas card, go to patreon.com/parodyerrorfilms and become a patron today.